Welcome back to This Week Inside Sim Racing. Sean Cole here with Darren Ganji. And before we get going, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, GT Omega Racing. And if you haven't checked them out recently or you're in the market for a rig, they've got the redesigned Pro Edition that they've made some significant changes to. Also have the Evo model and a wheel stand that we're going to be reviewing here soon on the show. So check out gtomegaracing.com.
So you mentioned before the break, and I do remember very well, because this has become one of the biggest topics or issues in sim racing, at least right now, and that's not the 2.4, but perhaps your actions in the 2.4.
Yes. Well, my actions in the piece that I put together. And, you know, there's two sides to every story. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think I really told mine to the lengths that I wanted to. As a matter of fact, that piece I put together was done after we filmed the show.
Right.
So when we come back from my report, you and I hadn't even watched it yet.
Right.
So we didn't really comment on my emotions, where my head was at the time, the mistakes that I made. But we also, I called out a driver to an extent, and it's not hard to find out who he was.
No.
And that driver was Dylan Duval. And before we get into things, I want to first apologize to him, to Dylan, for calling him out in that light without warning him in advance. But yeah, I felt a little bad after because, needless to say, I took a lot of heat. But yeah, so Dylan, I apologize for calling you out like that, but Dylan was a great sport with this whole thing.
Absolutely. And I want to get back to your feelings or how it played out in your day, but like you said, there are two sides to every story, and I did get a chance to talk to Dylan and get his side of the story.
Yep.
So why don't we hear what he had to say about it?
Sounds good.
So I'm here with Dylan Duval, who many of you out there might know as the 15-car driver, and that's from the 2.4 Hours of Daytona, the heated battle between he and Darren that led to an ending that might be notorious at this point. So Dylan, thank you very much for joining us today. Before we get too started, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and how long you've been sim racing, that kind of stuff.
I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. I've been sim racing on iRacing at least since late 2010, but before that, I just did a little bit of NASCAR 09 on the 360 console and pretty much just went from there and jumped on iRacing, and it's the only thing I've really done. I've tried NR 2003 a little bit, couldn't get into it all that much. I've pretty much been focused on iRacing since 2010.
Okay, cool. And just an idea, how old are you?
I am 17, currently in high school, hopefully should be my final year.
Right on, very cool career. All right, well, let's go back in time a little bit. About 2 weeks ago, we had the 2.4 Hours of Daytona. It was a very important race, both to me and Darren. From your mindset, was this a big race? Was this just another race for you?
It's hard to say. It's sort of a fine line for me. Like, I practiced for it. I spent probably about 2 hours working on it. I don't put as much effort into it as you guys do, but I still consider it a big deal. I enjoy doing it, and I take it seriously, but I don't think I'm as much into it as you guys, per se.
All right, that's a fair statement, because we take it pretty seriously over here. All right, so that day, the way the race played out, you and Darren ended up in a heated battle that went on for what seemed like 50 laps. I mean, we posted a good 12 to 15 laps of it in the race, and you guys were nose to tail all race long. How were things from your perspective on that?
Oh, everything was fine for me. I was in TeamSpeak with a friend, and I was saying, man, I'm having a great battle with Darren right now. I wonder what he's thinking about it. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it was fun. I know I was talking in TeamSpeak a lot about it. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, I wasn't mad over it. I thought it was just good, hard racing.
So you mentioned Darren's name there. Do you know of Darren? Did you know he was part of this show? I mean, was he just another guy, or did it change anything, the fact that it was Darren Ganji in your mirror?
For me, it doesn't matter who I'm racing with. I race everybody the same way. It doesn't matter if you're a DWC champion, if you're just some guy I've never heard of, or if you're someone from a sort of webcast show. It doesn't really make a difference to me. I knew who Darren was, and I didn't race him any different knowing who he was. Like I said, I try to race everyone the same. I don't think it's right to race someone differently just because they're known.
Right on, I appreciate that. You definitely raced him hard. So, I mean, that battle, it was intense. Where was your heart rate in the middle of it? I mean, were you calm, cool, collected? Were you going nuts? I mean, how was it in that terms?
Well, I was pretty relaxed about it. It got a little hairy down into turn 1 a couple times. We just had such different braking points. I drove it in much deeper, and there was one time, thankfully, he wasn't still on my outside because I drove it in too deep and thought we might wreck there, but thankfully he wasn't still on my outside.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. So now, the way it played out, going way back to the very beginning, Darren actually was a bit behind and he kind of caught up to you. And a lot of people, well, I'll get back to people's opinion in a moment, but were you aware that he had gobbled up a gap and then it was sort of racing for that position? Like, it's one thing to catch somebody, but a whole other thing to be able to get by?
Yeah, I know, like, I wasn't sure how far back he was. I know he had ran me down, but it was weird. It seemed like he was faster in the oval. I don't think it was all because of draft or anything like that, but it seemed to me that I pulled him through the infield, and then he would sort of catch up through the draft, and, like, he was faster in the oval, too. But, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's just, it was weird. We're completely different in each end of the track. Like I said, I was faster in the infield, he was faster through the oval. It's just sort of a weird circumstance to begin with.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation when you're out there. And let me just, I mean, we'll kind of get to the where it led to in the forum, but I mean, another thing that people might ask or think about is in a 2-hour, 40-minute race, maybe each lap isn't so critical, it's overall time. Do you think that's a fair argument, and did that ever play into your mind at all? I mean, you guys were racing, and usually when two cars race, they end up not running optimal lap times, essentially.
Yeah, I knew it was still fairly early in the race, and I know it's a long race, but the way we were racing, I don't think, at least for me, it might have been slowing him down, but for me, it wasn't slowing me down at all, because I was still running my normal line through the road course and through the oval, just still running my normal line, and it wasn't really slowing me down. I'm sure it was slowing him down because he caught me, but it wasn't slowing me down at all because I was just doing what I was doing when he was catching me.
Yeah, I could see that being the case as well. All right, so this plays out. This goes on for plenty of time. I even came out of the pits and watched you go by, and then had to get out of Darren's way right away. So this went on and on and on until finally Darren made a mistake. What was your reaction looking in the rearview mirror, seeing that finally that car was off your back?
Well, what started it was I was trying to pass the McLaren, and I got loose underneath the McLaren, and then Darren tried slowing down for me, and he wrecked, and I was more surprised that I saved it after almost wrecking, trying to get around the McLaren, and then I looked back and saw he wrecked. I was like, oh, he's probably not too happy right about now.
Yeah, that definitely was the case, and I think that was well established on the show. Do you have your live chat going? Could you hear anything going on the mic? Did you hear anything Darren had to say afterward?
Yeah, I heard him say, he didn't say a whole lot. He said he was too frustrated to continue or something along those lines, and I was like, oh, I didn't think he would be that mad.
Yeah, well, what you didn't see was the second spin, I think, that was a result of frustration and overheated tires, probably. Okay, so you went on to finish that race. Congratulations, you had a great run that day. I mean, you outperformed Darren, to be honest with you. I mean, sometimes racing comes down to driving somebody else into a mistake, and you were able to withhold that challenge until he made that mistake. So afterward, the forum thread. I don't even remember who started the thread, but my question to you is, how soon after the race did you realize there was this thread going on about Darren's rant?
I didn't see it right away, actually. A friend linked me to it over Facebook, and it was already about 4 pages in, and I was like, oh my god. It was really funny to watch, to see what everyone had to say, because after the race, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I didn't really think anything of it, and then I realized, oh, this just blew up. And I don't know, I was paying attention to it after I was informed about it, but before that, I had no idea.
All right, so my next question would be, you were involved in the incident. You probably, did you see the show? Did you see the forum thread and then see the show?
I saw the show and then immediately the forum thread. A friend sent me a link to the video, and I watched it, and I was laughing pretty hard. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I think many of people. So, what was your reaction to the show first? I mean, what did you think when you saw Darren and the whole thing?
Like I said, I was just bursting in laughter. I don't take it offensively. It doesn't bother me, anything like that. It's just sort of, I laughed it off. It was really funny. I'm not going to lie.
I actually have Darren here. He's been kind of watching me do the whole interview, and he's here. I think he has a little something to say.
Hey, Dylan, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, man, good. Hey, man, first of all, I just wanted to say you definitely got the best of me that day. And looking back, it was actually, there's a moment that in the full race where I was like really pumped up because I had gotten by you. Not the one when I flipped you off, which by the way I apologize for. But anyway, dude, you got the best of me, and because of that, and to show you there's no hard feelings, I'm gonna give you this button box, and I'm showing it on camera right now. But it's a Derek Spears Velocity button box, and I'm gonna go ahead and ship it to you, and just to show you there's no hard feelings, and just to say, man, you got the best of me that day, and that was some pretty hard racing, and the fact that you're under 18 made it even more interesting. But good job, man, and hopefully I'll see you on the track again soon.
Thanks. That was a lot of fun. I know I was enjoying myself racing. I thought, like I said, it was just good, hard racing, and everything afterwards, I didn't take any offense to it. It was all fun and games. It was funny just to follow it and see what people had to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was the same for us afterward. Maybe we realized that we had opened Pandora's box, and maybe not necessarily in the right way. We wanted to provoke thought. That was our goal. We wanted to show Darren's real emotion, and maybe we took it too far, and he did offend some people. But, it was reality, and it was nothing fudge. So in that forum thread, do you think that, everybody came to your defense. Do you think that at some point it went too far, where it was just a sort of a lynch mob on Darren?
Yeah, I don't think, some people, I think, took it out of proportion. I think they took it a bit too far, but I think for the most part, a lot of people were like me and thought it was more funny than anything, but there were a few people who brought personal things into it and other stuff that just didn't need to be mentioned, and I don't think that was good of them to do, but like I said, for the most part, I think it was just people finding it amusing more than anything.
Absolutely, and that was the point. I just got to tell you, number one, you're a class act. You're the kind of person out there that the world needs more of, taking things lightly, racing hard, being a great racer, all of the above. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be here on the show, and then on top of everything else, being a good sport. I think a lot of people could have taken Darren's reaction and been very offended and not seen the humor or been entertained, and the same thing with everything going in the forum. So I want to thank you for that. Before I let you go, one thing, anybody out there, we all have friends, we all have people who support us, we all have our sponsors maybe. Anybody you want to thank out there in the world?
Well, I currently don't have an actual sponsor. I used to, Wheelstand Pro used to be my sponsor. I appreciate everything they've done for me. For that actual race, I was on Gale Force Racing, and they did most of the work on the setup, and I appreciate that because it was fast. But the only person I really should, I think, take the time to thank is a friend of mine I talk to on TeamSpeak quite often. He's trying to make a career in professional rap, and his stage name is Linguistic, but on iRacing he is Brandon Hawk. He is also from Eastern Canada.
Well, Dylan, thanks again so much for being here. Thank you for being such a class act and a good sport in all of this.
Thanks for having me.
So as you can see, Dylan was a very, very good sport about this. He certainly had fun racing against you. I think he made that pretty clear. It was a great race and a great battle.
Frickin' kid. 17 years old. Dude, like, worked me into a frenzy.
You were ready to throw down, and then it was a kid.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those, it was one of those moments in racing. And honestly, one of the things we wanted to show was the emotion that can be involved.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, when I filmed that piece, when I started filming that day, I mean, you could see at the beginning, I'm happy, I'm pumped up, I'm in a pretty good mood, I'm ready for the race. And I even said, no matter what happens at the end, I'm gonna film it. And I stuck to that. And I almost didn't fire the camera back up for that moment, but hey, that's where I was at that time. Those were my emotions. I apologize now if I've offended anybody out there for the way my emotions were portrayed, but that's just, you know what? It just shows you how much adrenaline can be pumping through somebody. And a lot of the comments I've received since then, they're like, man, I'm glad I don't have a camera on me. You know, I'm hearing from a bunch of different people when I'm racing, because this one guy wrote too, I had to take my wife out to dinner, to a steak dinner, because of all the F-bombs I dropped the night before. So, you know I'm not
alone.
Yes.
Not even close.
I'm just the one that was dumb enough to show all you how I can overreact to a situation.
Well, when we talked about airing it, I knew people would be, I thought people would see the passion more than anything else. And it's sort of on the forum, not in the racing environment, exploded, and maybe even to an extent a fair amount. And now let's
not go there yet. I know where you're gonna go. We'll go there at the end.
All right.
I want to talk more about
your day.
Yes, and you know what? Again, we were trying to portray. I want to say something about the way Dylan drove, first of all, because I didn't really talk about that day. You know, on our last show. First of all, I never said, you know, I put up the blocking or holding your line. Okay. And I wanted opinions on it. You know, that was part of why I put that up. I never said Dylan did anything illegal.
Right.
And that a lot of people came to jump to Dylan's defense saying he didn't do anything illegal. What he did was perfectly fair. He made one move, and I totally agree with that.
Right.
Dylan did not do anything illegal. Now, did he overdrive into turn one? Yes, in my opinion, I thought he did more than once. Was I faster than him? Absolutely. My lap times were a second. I could go a second a lap faster than him, and he said it in his interview.
Right.
It's like, it didn't affect my lap times, and it affected mine.
Yeah.
And where my frustration really came into play is that together, Dylan and I could have caught the next guy. And at that same time, there was a guy, Billy something, that was catching us because of our battle. So I wanted to really get my goal, which I just couldn't do. I think part of it was my setup. Part of it was not keeping my cool, and part of it was Dylan drove the wheels off that damn thing. He did a hell of a job of outbraking me into turn one. His setup could outbrake into turn one better.
Yeah.
I think he had a little more top end gear on the straight. So
I'm fascinated by how long he kept his cool, because honestly, and I'll admit, I don't think I could have handled someone on my ass like that long without being driven into a mistake, essentially.
Yeah, and that was part of where I was coming from too. It's like, in that position, if I get run down, I'll let the guy by, because I want to try to maintain that position and maybe even get a tow from him and go up to the next guy. So that was my mentality. I'm not making excuses, okay? I screwed up. I mean, go back and watch the video. How many chokes did I list? The bottle drop choke. I spun after taking the lead. I spun again a lap and a half later in second, or wherever I was. So and that's going to go to one other subject. My head was not prepared. I was race prep ready. I know that track like the back of my hand. I won it last year in my split. So it wasn't that I wasn't prepared to race that track in that car. It was I was not mentally ready for that day. And because I've got a lot, and this is on another note, again, I'm not making excuses, but I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, personal life, that was affecting my thoughts that day.
Right, and you weren't clear-headed.
No, and that's another point I wanted to make, that, you know, when you are racing at this level, or that level, or whatever level at sim racing, you really need complete concentration, especially for a 2 hour and 40-minute race.
Right.
Concentration is key.
Yeah.
And if you can't maintain that and maintain your cool, you're gonna do probably what I did, maybe even worse.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I am proud of the fact that I did not damage that car. People were like, why did you park it? Because at that point, I honestly, in my head, thought about going after Dylan. And that's not the type of driver I am. And I thought, you know what, it's better to just walk away from this.
And how regrettable would that have been?
Oh man, and that's not me. I will not go after a driver after, and he, again, he didn't do anything illegal.
Right.
He didn't take me out.
Right.
Now, hindsight, I probably, when he went to spin, I probably should have just given him a little nudge and helped him around. And again,
I think a lot of people would have.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would have too. Maybe a little later in the race, I might not have gotten off the throttle and brake and hit the brakes, but I choked.
Right.
The bottom line is I overdrove, I overreacted.
Yeah.
Again, I apologize for my overreaction. Dylan.
Yeah, you
like
did more than apologize.
Yeah, no hard feelings, and you know, I'm not trying to kiss anybody's butt or make it. The bottom line is, Dylan drove me hard, you know, and he deserved this, and also deserved it for being called out. So, Dylan, I hope you enjoy this button box. He gave us his address, and we're gonna get that out to him soon.
Well, now let's transition to the aftermath, because this kind of is going to lead into
our next subject.
And I think maybe on that last show we started a new trend and something that I love, and that's having stuff to talk about in sim racing.
And have you guys, we want your, you know, we want comments, and
even if it's ugly.
Even if Bruce from Controversy, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys that watched that show or commented, good, bad, or indifferent, have thought differently a little bit about the way you race. And whether it's racing too hard for a position or getting too frustrated like I did, I'm sure that it taught some lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. So
taught me some.
Yeah, well, you got raked over the coals, essentially. I mean, when it came to the comments on the video or in the forums, I mean, I'll just say it, but I alluded to it earlier, but people took it out of context, number one. I don't think anybody chose to see it from anybody's perspective. I think there are people who actually wanted to have an opportunity to get as angry as they did at you. Well, because I do. I just think they did.
You're right, and a lot of it's because I have definitely been the one between us two to brew controversy in forums, things I've said on the show. I may come off as cocky or whatever, but bottom line is I'm opinionated. I'm not afraid. Yeah, I'm vocal. I'm not afraid to voice my opinion, and a lot of times people take it out of context. I love how somebody brought up the 4-year-old, you know, war I had of words back on Virtual R. I think it was like 2008 or 9. It's like somebody's, dude, let it go, man. I mean, you guys, this is where our next subject going is the guys that, in my opinion, have nothing better to do but brew controversy and start wars, and it's like there's so many cool people in the sim racing community, but then there's these bad apples that just insist on starting. Hey, I'm all for constructive criticism. I took a lot of constructive criticism for that piece.
Right.
But you know what? Bringing up something that's completely
unrelated,
photos of Jessica in bikinis in the thread in iRacing. Honestly, I wouldn't even go and subject myself to that thread because I'm embarrassed for you guys. Some of you guys out there. For the ones that gave constructive criticism, good, bad, whatever, you know, that sided with me or didn't side, and I wasn't looking for anybody to side with me.
Well, even all the guys who said we were wrong for even airing it. I agree. I mean, I agree with you having that thought.
Yeah, you were welcome. Everybody's entitled to your opinion, but you know, we have these filters here, you know, and they're used to smooth out the inputs of the Fanatic pedals. Why don't some of you guys use your inner filters and stop from being like this?
Yeah.
You know, and hey, you're welcome to do whatever you want. Your account, you can portray yourself any way you want. I mean, it's, you know.
But what's with the forum bullies?
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. If some of you guys spent that much time in actually sim racing, you'd probably be better drivers.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but guys that have a couple thousand plus posts, dude, I mean, I do in our own forums because I'm constantly, you know, trying to offer help, answer questions, stuff like that. But guys that just have 1,000 plus and are known as forum bullies or tough guys, come on.
Well, it's these guys that no matter, and now we're not even talking about our thread or this whole situation. Now we're talking about just any thread, any video comment and post within the sim racing world. And these guys who, honestly, I can think of some names, and I'm not going to name any, but people who have a reputation for doing this.
Since they called me out, I'm calling them out. And the one right now, and I don't know what your problem is, Ben Cornett, but I think you're just mad at the world. And hey, if that's your thing, to talk trash every opportunity you get and you hate me, that's fine. How about like sending me a private email and having it out with me in private instead of trying to be a forum tough guy? And that's where I'm going to also say something to Team Redline here. I'm friends with the team that Ben Cornett's on. You know, I've met Dom Doohan in person, and I consider him a friend. We had him at our house.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. I consider him a true friend, to be honest. I mean, we've spent, you know, more than just that time. We hung out with him at the Forza party. Gregor Hutu, we've been friends with for many years.
Known him forever.
And I consider him, I've never met him in person, but I consider him a friend.
Sure.
And total respect for all of those guys. Luke McLean.
Yeah.
When he's racing, I'm rooting for Luke.
Yeah.
You know, and but then why do they have a guy like Ben Cornett on their team that, I'm sorry, he's mediocre at best, and he just stirs the pot? It's like, Team Redline, why do you guys have a Kurt Busch that doesn't have Kurt Busch's talent on your team?
Yeah, there are a lot of good drivers in the sim racing world to choose from. He's not even a Kurt Busch level, really.
So I'm sorry to say this to you guys, Dom and Gregor and Luke and, you know, Richie. I think their pro driver who's kicking some butt now. It's like, why do you have this? Why are you bringing him along? He's baggage.
Yeah.
Dump him.
Yeah.
So that's, hey, I may generate some more enemies for that call out, but you know what? I'm tired of you, Ben Cornett, and you know what? Maybe you got the best of me and you're seeing what I've got to say, but I'm not going to join in your forum wars, your war of meaningless words. So this is my final say. I bet you got something to say to me, Ben. My email address is darren@insidesimracing.tv. Feel free to shoot me an email if you want to voice your opinion to me in private, and I'll voice it back.
And beyond the one-on-one there, we want to hear from all of you about the opinion on your conduct in the forums. So not just your racing conduct, but, you know, constructive criticism, good things, sure. Is it bad to stir up the pot? I mean, honestly, I think some people see the forum as a form of entertainment. And so they're stirring the pot because it's like reality drama TV to them.
Yep.
And they can be a part of it. So anyway, what do you think about that?
And that's going to wrap up that part of the show. One last thing before we go, wanted to mention iRacing's got some new stuff that they've been showing recently. The Kia Optima, which is like a kind of like a British touring car,
right?
But I think that car won a championship in the North American.
Yeah, it's not just a normal Kia.
Yeah, no. When I heard Kia was racing, I was tripping on that. But yeah, that car is going to be coming fairly soon to iRacing, but there's been some video released recently of it. Some scan images of Bathurst, Montreal. Also, on the NASCAR side of things, they're finishing up their last 2 NASCAR tracks to complete the entire NASCAR schedule. I believe it's California and Kansas.
Right.
So, cool stuff going on there at iRacing.
So they're going to make the DWC guys run road courses?
I'd like to see that. I'd
They
like
ought
to see
to.
them. They should run at least 1, in my opinion.
I agree. 2. They should do the exact schedule at this point.
Well, there's that whole series that I'm thinking about running in that's going to follow the whole NASCAR schedule and allow you to run every race 2 times a week. So might get involved in that. So that's going to wrap things up for this week Inside Sim Racing. Hopefully we haven't brewed too much controversy this week, and if we have, let us hear it. Comment on YouTube and our forums, or in the private forums, wherever you want, but hopefully you've enjoyed this show. Visit us at isrtv.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and that's going to wrap things up. Anything else, Sean, before we go?
No, had fun.
Yep, me too. That'll do it. We'll see you guys next time. GT Chassis Racing Rigs provided by Human Racing. Go to humanracing.co.th.